We are back at it on the front lines of the global digital visual arts underground here. A one-of-a-kind show for your edification. Artist Journal, August 3rd, 2023, broadcasting from a smooth, shiny sea deep in inner space. I can see the sun shining inside. I don't see it here. But inside, it is bright, calm, smooth, and sunny. Welcome back, everyone. My name is Adrian Pocobelli. Big shout out and thank you to everybody who came to that show yesterday, Xerox. I didn't know what to expect, and I have to confess, I knew a little bit about Xerox's work. I looked at it. I didn't know what to make of it. It was a fascinating show. It was absolutely fascinating. We'll talk about it a little bit more. First, let's look at this. Let's look at this super original work by The Myth. If you've never seen The Myth's work, like for your information, it kind of comes as a bit of a revelation. He is I've heard him described as the king of Tezos, and I don't find that an inappropriate description, let's put it that way. He is a classic, and again, coming upon his work on object for the first time. At first, you're not sure what to make, and then you return and you see how brilliant this artist is, out of Argentina, and quite moving, and it really holds up over time, and just tempting to call it Tezos original, just a great artist, and he also releases on other blockchains too, but he is a really interesting artist. I mean, let's take a look. First of all, there's a couple of things. First of all, the music side I always love, and then you put a Casio synthesizer, interestingly, put a synthesizer in there too. And with the guy, with the Myth Lemonhead figure actually pressing down the keys here, there's something about musical works in painting, in the history of painting. I mean, sometimes you see it, and again, maybe just off, there's Picasso's dancers, and then actually when they're playing pianos, it's quite a fun motif. And so here it is, and what I also like about this is the really bold composition here by just putting a straight line. Maybe there'd be a temptation to use the edge of the synthesizer to break up the image, but just puts a bold straight line here, and you see the Myth with a woman figure dancing here on a pink tennis court, and again, those kind of Myth colors, and then the green in the tennis ball, and it's just kind of wonderfully beautiful. It seems like a self-portrait of sorts, dancing with maybe his girlfriend, wife, not sure, and just a really interesting, as usual, portrait. The landscape also is interesting, kind of a suggestive, perhaps, of a woman's body, kind of looking, almost from the woman's perspective down. So just an interesting work as usual. Let's just actually take a closer look. I brought it up close so you can actually see all of the detail that goes into this work. You can probably see, the brushwork here. Now, it's unclear if this, I assume Procreate. Myth uses, from what I understand, Microsoft Paint and Procreate. When you see the edges here, it's tempting to say a little bit of Microsoft Paint, but it's probably all Procreate, if I had to guess. These gradients are very interesting. They're not blended in, as you see in the eye there. It is just, and it's quite beautiful and interesting in and of itself. And you see, of course, this almost wrestler mask, Lemonhead figure, the classic, trademark, signature blood kind of coming from the eye. Just a great artist. And one of the interesting things about the Lemonhead figure, too, is how often the eyes, it's almost like the head fits the mask. Because if you're to imagine the person underneath the mask, you might think that the eyes are maybe too far apart, but it's like the eyes fit the mask. So just kind of interesting. And look at this. And I have to say, one of my favorite parts, I love the roughness here. Maybe you can see that slightly darker gray here. One of my favorite parts when I looked up close was the roughness in the text. Just kind of doing it themselves, and even it being upside down is kind of fun. And everything, and not worrying too much about being too close to the original, reference. And I do want to just kind of look up here just to give you a view. And let's look down here at the couple dancing, which it's very tempting. I mean, another Lemonhead figure, so it's very tempting to identify the two people here. And the music, Myth is playing the music that they are dancing to. So just a really poetic portrait of a couple here. Just really nicely done in high heels and everything. And the tennis ball. The tennis court, the pink tennis court. Of course, tennis courts are normally green, so it's easy to forget. And Myth almost always puts this pink and green in the works. Again, out of Argentina. Just a fantastic artist. This is an open edition. This is an open edition. Let me see if I can bring it up for you here. It's only 7 Tezos, and only 22 have been minted. And this has a beautiful title too. That They Will Talk to Me About Love. So just a really deep, artist. Always interesting, Myth. Editions 22, open edition 22 have been minted. Only $5.78 for this super original work of art from sometimes called the King of Tezos, the Myth. I opened with discussing this. Nice turnout, by the way. This will probably go up too in the next day or so. So Cap'n ended up with something like 588 listens when it was all said and done. So that was 2 days after. So Xerox. So if you're like me and never really understood deeply what was meant by crypto art and what the deal is with crypto art, I would submit that this recording here will go a long way towards explaining that culture, the culture and the understanding of crypto art. For all the browsing on Twitter I've done, I've never really understood in such a, actually fairly concise. When Xerox got going there, we just let him go for the first 20 or 30 minutes, and it was fascinating. It was a huge data dump from Xerox's brain on crypto art. And so I found it absolutely fascinating. And what was so weird about it? Like, one of my takeaways is after listening to Xerox on yesterday's show, which I will re-listen to, all of a sudden I felt like I understood Uxeen's work far better as to what was actually going on in the choice of iconography, the skulls, even the glitch, kind of the flashing and everything, and how this is, and Uxeen has put the hashtag crypto art, proudly crypto art. And not all digital artists associate themselves. Excuse me. We could see crypto art really, I would say, as a branch of digital art. Like, it's one of the manifestations of digital art with a very strong cultural side to it, which is quite interesting. And yeah, so just a fascinating space here with Xerox. I can't recommend it enough if you're interested in digital art, and especially if you're wondering what is meant by the term crypto art, and if you just want to come to a better understanding of it, I can't recommend this enough. If I was to rewrite this title, I'd call it Xerox on Crypto Art. What is crypto art? So fascinating and awesome. Just a few comments here. Let's just see. Gons, I'm honored to have your spotlight, Adrian. It's really nice to enjoy your artist journal. You have great perspective. Thank you, Gons. Great to hear from you. I think you have another work in today's show. Insider, love the oil painting comparison. Excuse me. And this is on the man. We're actually going to take another look at this work here in a second. I never thought about it, but it does make sense, and I'm very happy about it because I freaking love the texture oil paint gives. The work is a little old, but it's one of my experimentals, I'd say. It's a play of the Have You Seen This Man figure, which I'd never heard of. Once again, thank you for having me. You're more than welcome, Cider. And Human Boy is up for the live shows. Happy vacation. Thank you. I leave on Saturday. So I'll be doing the space next Wednesday, but the show might be more just kind of here and there, not as quite like, 4 days a week. Maybe it'll be a couple of days. Maybe we'll do the live show. So it's going to be an improvisation. I don't want to do what I've done in the past, which is just leave the show for 2 weeks. I think you need some continuity, so I'm trying to figure that out, how to do that. 8so, thanks for putting recursion in today's show. The videos on the TV screen are actually just the feed from the camera filming the piece, glitching each feed differently. So that kind of a self-referential work. There's a detailed thread on X or Twitter about it if you've got the interest to read about it. And it's also part of this analog video union drop. And so Xmortal was in that. So they did really well, Phosphor Operator. So everybody can check that out. They're number 2 on Objects Hot Collections. And thank you, Denholm, very long time watcher here. Congrats on 1,000. Thank you. And also Zach Lloyd, lulz, that cider piece is great, and I love the figure. So I brought this I opened this link, and shout out to Tom Bombattle. Just waking up here. So this is the work. Okay, so this is the reference. So here is Cider's piece, and it appears that this is the work. And I've never heard of this, but just very briefly, this man is a person who has allegedly appeared in thousands of people's dreams since 2006, but was never identified in the real world. So a great subject for a portrait or for an art piece. So just very cool. And just again, you see the distortion, like the wonderful distortion in Cider's work. So again, very cool. Thank you, Zach and Cider, for the extra info. Lorna Mills. Verse has a physical a show, and here it is. It's really refreshing to see a restrained install in a big space. And I think what Lorna's saying is it's great to see, letting the work breathe. And I think there is something to be said for it. It does look it looks very good. Just 2, works here. And it's interesting, like we're always interested in the displays here. I mean, interesting display. Like, are those TVs that are stacked up? Is that just one big screen? Are these projectors? I'm not sure. It's a nice display, though, and it looks great on the floor, actually, that reflection there. We have one more. Here's another video. I guess this is a different room. I mean, nice space. And it's all looking very good, this display over here. So just interesting to see what Verse is up to here. And here's another room. And there's that other room that we're just looking at. So nice restrained install, as Lorna Mills is pointing out. So just very interesting. Also on the display exhibition front, so the AV Union TV party that we're just looking at, they had a space in voxels. Look at how easy and immersive is this experience of buying Tezos pieces via the AV Union TV party voxel space by James Ale Cardy. Give them a follow, or yeah, hodl. The opening event of Analog Video Union Exhibition TV Party has begun on CryptoVoxels. So here it is, and here's just the video, which is a lot easier. You can see watch someone buy in the metaverse here. So you just click on it, takes you to Object, Confirm Operation, and there it is, and you own the work. I think pretty interesting and cool. Yeah. It's cool that people are still using CryptoVoxels. Like it does have staying power, it seems. So just kind of impressive. Continuing on, just a quick little shout out. Thank you, Santiago Izzacodal. Here's a brief summary about pen plotters. So I just wanted to show this page here. I opened the link. History of Computer Art, Part 2, Plotters by Shi-Min Chong. And so here it is. So so here, if you do a search, I'm sure on this, you will come across this. I will try to remember to put a link in the description, but it's a pretty cool, history of pen plotters. Santiago mentioned, I think in a comment on a previous show that, look, no coding required. I think we were talking about Zancan, but Zancan was talking about coding. So I think we were talking to Art Matter. I think it sounded to me when we were talking to Art Matter in that space like 6 weeks ago or so that they actually do use code. Interestingly, but clearly the early stuff, I mean, it's probably just like a printer. You send the file and the pen plotter does its thing. So I just wanted to highlight this. And yeah, I mean, here's a cool history of pen plotters, something I'd like to know more about and just figure out how to. I've never actually seen one in person, interestingly. I mean, I'd love to. I've looked online, you can buy them. So it is all very interesting. So just a cool article here. We can't go through the whole thing, but I thought I'd just show, and quite scholarly, by the way. So just a cool reference if you want to learn more about pen plotting, as I do. Onto the work here. So here is, let me just do this. So here is Dan Control with a work that is just, is he on the homepage? He is on the homepage. Well deserved. I mean, this ambitious work here. Dan Control is on the homepage here with this work. Beautifully, it's a really cool, I actually brought it up large here. It's a really cool page that they give you here on Zora, which is this kind of, it looks like they let you control the color, and here it looks like you can even control the text. So they're doing a nice job. 8 have been minted at 0.02, so 0.16, so already with 4 days to go, Dan Control has pulled in probably something like $300, maybe more. So that is impressive. I mean, 8 times, that's 1.6. I mean, that's pretty good. Probably about $300. So let's look closer. Fight or Flight, also, one of Dan Control's ambitious medieval works, we could say. I think there's a couple on Foundation that exist. So he made one with this big dragon here and kind of, again, this castle for Zora. Where it seems like on Zora there's a lot of enthusiasm to buy on Zora. So there, maybe it's got its like the people that are, the backing Zora or who are a part of Zora are eager to make it grow. So if you put art on Zora, there's probably a market of people who are, excited to buy and support it. So kind of a little bit of alpha there for the artists. So anyways, but you see how Dan Control is making this gradient thing look easy. This gradient thing look easy, and you see how huge this file is too. I mean, so let's look at the fire. I mean, the solution for the fire is pretty hilarious, and it's actually pretty good when you start looking up close. Again, just using gradients. And look at the squares. So, of course, the tree. Maybe reusing an element there, and look at the ground. Let's look at some of the people here. So just a beautiful, super interesting work by Dan Control. Again, I think 21. So 21 years old. And look at how prolific he is. I mean, that's the thing. When you're 21, maybe you have the time, right? Maybe you're going to university, and really, that's probably when you have the most time in your life. So making the most of his time, that's for sure. And the scales of the dragon and everything. So just a hilarious work here. Fight or Flight, what to do. We have a dragon here. Continuing on, so Stoned Ape by Uxine. So this paired with Psilocybe cubensis. This feels like the Latin, perhaps Psilocybe cubensis. And there it is, the tryptamine. And here, so one of the cards lacking a specific purpose. So, of course, in this beautiful, making it look easy here, by the way, in this beautiful work we see, of course, the stoned ape theory, we can't not mention it, Terence McKenna's great theory on how language evolved. And, just quick couple of thoughts on that, I think some theories of Terence McKenna, the great mushroom philosopher from the 90s, I think some have aged better than others, some theories. This one, to me, there's a lot to be said for it. Like the time wave zero and the mathematical theory of how history evolves and novelty. I think they call it novelty theory. It was a very fancy theory, but it was that's where said the end of the Mayan calendar and that it kind of climaxed in 2012. And nothing happened in 2012, seemingly. So I wouldn't say that totally deletes the theory, but it was kind of a stretch of a theory. It was very ambitious. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but it kind of relied on a lot of assumptions. What I like about this theory, the stoned ape theory, and here is the ape with the enlightened ape here, with the halo. Again, crypto art, with the flashing halo here. This one to me has a bit more, this theory has a lot more legs, shall we say. I don't think it's crazy at all. I mean, McKenna consumed a huge amount of mushrooms when he was fairly young. And as anybody that's ever listened to Terence McKenna would recognize, as he was one of the great masters of the English language of the last 100 years, I think you could actually legitimately say. In a lot of ways, an unrecognized philosopher by academia. Now, he had some kind of, again, that maybe the time wave novelty theory discredited him somewhat because it started to feel a little too flaky. This theory, though, seems very practical and actually would explain a lot. I mean, they talk about, what do they call it at the Pentecost when people are speaking in tongues? Glossolalia, right? So there are reports of glossolalia, and, this idea of, speaking, wanting to just word out stuff when you're in the mushroom trance. And finally, just on this point, a little, diversion here, but since it's being brought up, we can't not recognize this. One final point is the neurologists, like when they do scans of the brain of people who are on psilocybin, what you find is all of these connections are being made. All of these connections are being made. So, like, you see more, like, I don't know how they image that, but they're seeing more neurons kind of and all these little things, and you see after the experience. So again, which kind of also contributes to this idea that, why does McKenna speak so well? Was he just born that way? So it's a fascinating theory. To me, that theory has legs. And there's no way of proving this. I guess this is anthropology, paleoanthropology, maybe. So anyway, so that is the reference that we are seeing here. And of course, the little homunculi and the Mac, who is neutral here, and then the almost like tree mushrooms here. And looking up with the final kind of hilarious part here, which is the almost like the friar the friar's robe here on the bottom half. So, and just really nice work here. Again, sampling across layers, it's tempted to feel, and just really nice roughness here. So Uxine continues to deliver a really interesting, kind of cool, piece here. And of course, here are the psilocybin, the magic mushrooms of sorts, beautifully treated here as well. So just really nice work here. Already 92 Tezos. How much is this going for? Offers are coming in. Lord Misfit, shout out. And let's just see here. So maybe it's going to be by lottery, because usually the offers would be a lot more. Or maybe it's whoever owns the other one. Not sure. So continuing on. RJ, with a cool work on Object, kind of playing with the pixel art in his trademark pixel art style based on the software that he found online, I think called Pixels. And just a cool kind of minimal work. One wonders if AI was used in this one. It's tempting to think that. Great colors, introspective, moving away from the screens a little bit. But maybe this is the screen here. Interesting light and everything, and it kind of pairs really nicely. Online room, stood in the light of the internet. So this probably is the light of the screen. Interestingly, and almost this alienated figure here, which is almost trademark for RJ, this kind of, I almost always get this kind of World War I modernist alienation that, it really just, RJ, his artwork just for whatever reason really reminds me of that. You see it here too. Green screen number. So this is an edition of 5, and just a cool work from RJ. Interesting color, and again, kind of almost abstracting the screen somewhat. We see the screen abstracted here, almost in the doorway. The green screen, and of course the green screen, what I want to put behind me here at some point when I actually have time, maybe on vacation, can be anything. Can be anything. You can put any image. So maybe playing with this idea of the green screen and this beautiful, this is actually the complementary color, isn't it? Green and red and blue and orange and violet and yellow. So green and red are the complementary colors. So interesting. And you can do the complementary colors when you do just a little bit of one and then a lot of the other, then it tends to work. And then again, this kind of alienated figure here within this kind of screen abstraction. So super interesting work as ever from RJ. Look at this beautiful work from Flora Marquez, bringing back the Morandanga Republic Muriel de Boa. So clearly referencing the snake here. I just love the stamps from Flora Marquez, and just brilliant color here, and this beautiful snake as the subject matter, and it's almost her own kind of private mythology. And here is the story that goes with what's happening. And I think she made up, I'm not sure, but I think she made up the name of this kind of land. So just really cool work here. Only $250. I need to pick one of these up. 13 left from Flora Marquez. Let's actually go a little bit closer here quickly, just to give us a feel of what things are like up close. And look at this interesting, almost this cosmic snake here. Kind of almost referencing, it's probably just the skin, but it almost references the galaxies or like faraway stars simultaneously. Beautiful work here. Flora Marquez, I think out of Argentina. We had her on a Twitter space, and she is really nice and really cool. Good friends with Tornado Rodriguez. So just a great artist, as you can see. Element Lee continues to be super fascinating and interesting here. I love the title of this, first of all. Solution. Love that title. And here, we have a whole bunch of scientific imagery. This looks like some sort of robotic arm. This looks like maybe an atom. This looks almost like a little bit of the sun. This looks like a cross. I can't remember what the name of that in anatomy when you do a cross section of a pregnant woman with a baby inside. And here is a big, seeming like scientific device, maybe a microscope, maybe something else. More just super interesting, brilliant work from Element Lee. Super original. Element Construction, 6 Tezos edition of 20. There are 15 left. And you probably recognize who this is, Demon Ego, with a very cool work here. This looks like collage, and probably no digital in this one. Love the green. The green is an interesting move, especially with this, probably collaged, printed out gradient that has been collaged in here. Here you see some brushwork. So Demon Ego just hard at work. Really like how this demon here kind of exits the frame, exits almost the comic panel, but then it's not filled in. So super interesting as ever from Demon Ego. And here's Slava 3 with a similar structure here. A lot of things in one composition and some dithering. Slava 3 out of Ukraine, I believe. West strict water interaction structure. So interesting. So here is an umbrella, a rubber duck. So maybe a reference to water. Maybe this is a sink and everything. So interesting. Interesting portrait of devices that work with water. With some nice dithering, by the way. Another work that kind of fit with the others, kind of make a little mini show out of these 3 artists here. Skirtsy, Are You Lost? And just another interesting, kind of more textured here, but you see a little bit of what looks like digital collage, but there's something very kind of textural about this and almost kind of seemingly physical, although not positive on that front. So just interesting work here from Skirty. Continuing on, Popple with new work here. Look at that, 170. Let's look at how many views. Popple has 35,000 views so far. And what's today? August 3rd. So it's been a day. Not even. It's been 12 hours. And Popple has 35,000 views. Let's just see. I follow Popple. That is just a Twitter glitch. Yeah, it continues to grow. Not at the huge clip after the 4 million view tweet, but continues to grow at... I've been tracking Popple's growth here and continues to grow nicely. Princess of Water Gazing, so almost similar to Uxine's kind of card thing, playing with almost the trading card thing. And interestingly, seeming to remix the pixel art, but with a kind of a print, right? Like here, it looks like a print process of sorts, or a print export is really what this looks like. This looks like it's taking the pixel art and exporting it as this, as a CMYK, print file. So super interesting there, some nice writing, and just super original. And 35,000 views so far. It's been 12 hours, I think. Maybe it's been a day and a half. Maybe it's been 36 hours, but 35,000 views, incredible. And I'm not sure if I don't think we looked at this one yesterday. This is also, so putting out quite a few works here, and here's 7,000 views. Popple puts out several works a day, and I think that's actually pretty cool and smart, really growing that Twitter base. So just really interesting work here. Again, doing a, for lack of a better term, like a rasterized CMYK print export of sorts. So just super interesting. Also, maybe referring to the alien discussions in the news, late night visitors with GloomTube, always kind of topical. And here we have the happy face guy with white eyes and maybe a little bit of an alien green glow, almost a possessed GloomTube figure here entering the home and out of the rain and everything. So just a cool work here by GloomTube. Edition of 50 for 6 Tezos, late night visitors, another classic Tezos artist here. Mental Noise with Explainer Gallery, who is collaborating with a ton of artists on Tezos here. And Tiny Beans and Mental Holes. So this is a series called Alchemy. And so here is Mental Noise, is work, and of course the rabbit reference, which we often see, and maybe some interesting, I'm not sure, this kind of looks like astrological writing here. This looks familiar here, and again, alchemy is the theme, and you see almost this figure here working in their studio, and almost wonder if it's a self-portrait of sorts. And there is the bunny as well. So, and there's an egg, some alchemical references, of course, the mixing, the place where you mix the elements, which was super important for alchemical imagery. Very cool work. And that is an edition of 15, probably not listed yet. Continuing on, how are we doing here? I don't see the time, so we're just going to keep running here. Actually, Louis Osborne, baggage claim. So playing with the airport theme here. Beautiful illustration here. And I guess everybody's unhappy, which is pretty hilarious too. I expected maybe people will be happy once they get the people bouncing away maybe would be happy, but everybody's unhappy at the baggage claim. Hilarious. 32 Tezos from Louis Osborne, probably based on real life. Traveling maybe right now. Edition of 50. Cool work. Turkarak with a couple of really interesting contemporary kind of illustrations, almost painterly though. Old woman wondering about her junkie neighbor's life. And I thought, what's interesting about this work, what I really like about it, apart from the execution, which I think is quite brilliant, it's actually the subject matter. I haven't seen a single image that has ever treated this subject. I think very contemporary. and makes it very interesting. I mean, this is where we learn about ourselves by kind of highlighting and quoting certain aspects of our experience. And then we see kind of the visual commentary along the way and, everything that's going on in here. And just even the way this guy is leaning out the window, the way she's dressed, her glasses, her clean apartment. This could be Kreuzberg in Berlin. Edition of 1 for 10 Tezos. So you can get a 1 of 1 for $8.26 from Turkarak. This one's $16.53, 20 Tezos. King of Summer, another summer work, a 1 of 1, also available. So at the beach here, and again, kind of a painterly, mixing the painterly experiments with illustration. And here is the main figure smoking a cigarette with two guys in Speedos, everybody having fun at the beach here. Cool title. And another illustration by Daniel W. Again, playing with this print and great texture here and nice kind of offset a little bit here, called Marax. And again, kind of looks like, I'm not sure if this is a really obscure mythology or if Daniel W. is making it up. But what I love about this series is I haven't recognized a single one of these mythological characters, which in and of itself makes it quite interesting. Nice signature here too, by Daniel W., who we've also had on the Twitter Spaces. Big shout out. Nice work. Let's just see, 3 Tezos. There are 20 left on primary. Caving Wild, a new abstract artist new for this show that we've been looking at. Just another interesting work here, playing with circles, just kind of formal abstraction here. Cesium, which I'm not sure what that means. Edition of 12 for $2.50. There are 8 left. And here's another one. Just really interesting abstract artist, Latches, edition of 12 for $2.50. There are 6 left. Interesting, playing with that very basic color scheme here. Grays and a little bit of color. And here's Santiago with what I want to call the Goblin Core series. Looks like he's starting to break away from the dithering, and it looks quite AI-ish. So it almost looks like, you know what this looks like to me? It's almost as if Santiago is taking, if I had to guess, I would say he's taking previous works that are dithered and putting them into AI and blending them with, say, Midjourney, and maybe coming out with this as a result, if I had to guess. But notably different, notably quite interesting. Final art for a chapel in a city that only exists while both of us are looking at the same goblin board in the end. AI was used and pixel art was used. So you definitely get an AI sense, especially in here from this work. And another abstract work, this is Gons. So Gons is back, a 1 of 1 for 30 Tezos, a place called Hometown. And again, looking like, sampling imagery, as we've seen with Ed Marola on his YouTube channel, which I can't recommend enough. If you want to learn how to make pixel art on Sprite, it looks like kind of sampling and creating brushes and making works out of that. So it looks like a home that has been abstracted. Deconstructions by Gons, a place called Hometown, 30 Tezos. Acid Boy, the master of psychedelic abstraction, as I like to call him, Dephased 03. This is on Object, edition of 3 for 50 Tezos here. And just a super, always keeping it interesting and new from Acid Boy. So always kind of hypnotic. Don't want to look at that almost too closely. Here's another one, also by Acid Boy, edition of 10. The other one was an edition of 3, so edition of 10 for 15 Tezos. And more interesting psychedelic abstraction from Acid Boy. Self-Collapse 2, cool title. Measureless is back with a really cool kind of evolved animated abstract work here. And playing with this kind of lighter green color, pretty extended abstraction here. Let me just show you, because remember these works here, right? And so now playing with this green, and then now playing with this blue. So back after a little bit, NTR change, netter change, not sure. But super interesting work here. 6 Tezos, edition of 24, 16 left. Kristen Roos with a couple of really interesting works here from a series called Shuttlecraft. Shuttlecraft Tower is the name of the work. These are on Foundation. Again, using vintage software, as Kristen Roos calls it. And again, using the office building as subject matter. And I love, this just simple, checkerboard foundation here. And then making a very actually complex building work here. We have another one. This is at buy now for 0.5, reserve of 0.25 ETH. And here's another one, same price, shuttlecraft high rise. So another interesting work, kind of has a bit more of maybe an Empire State Building beside each other sort of feel to it, but could be anything. And more just actually quite complex portrayal of these buildings here with this beautiful checkerboard foundation. Just very nice, and cycling through these beautiful colors here. So very nice work here from Kristen Roos as usual. Guadanarian with a really interesting work. RGB Warden, 0.36 cents, 0.36 Tezos, so almost free here for this really original animated abstract work. Gotta love the RGB, red, green, blue, and then you have this square inside. So interesting choice of colors. RGB Warden, Protector of Pattern, Messiah of Color. And here it's almost like this eyeball, the screen that's in a diamond with an eye in it. Very interesting. Speaking of watching, Spiegelsmaskinen Perceptual with a new work. This was from August 1st, and already there is a bid on it at 0.25 ETH. The surveillance cameras, we were discussing those in the Twitter space yesterday. They continue to be a popular subject matter. So very nicely done, very originally done here by Spiegels. And again, I think we saw, wasn't there a person with a surveillance camera and they were kind of not juxtaposed, but superimposed, like they were layered over top of each other? So here, you could argue that's probably the same file or something very similar, probably reused, but here it's almost Warholian again, where now we have 12 of them. And let's repeat them, and then we have a new image. Super interesting. Again, almost what I was calling earlier in yesterday or Tuesday's show, the tension of digital copies, right? But I love it. I think this is what artists should be doing. We saw it in Dan Control. The tree, that's probably reused, So just super interesting, reusing elements. Really cool work here from Sabato, again with Explainer Gallery, part of the Trader series. And here, an interesting commentary on the crypto scene. You see FTX and Terra Luna, and it going up and then it falling down. The further in time that Terra Luna story becomes, the kind of wilder that story seems. That everybody, including very, the top, crypto funds thought they could get 20% on this whole scheme. Pretty hilarious. Just shows, anybody is susceptible. And interesting shadow here, right? Because the shadow actually doesn't match the coffee cups, does it? So interesting move here. Wonder what's going on there. And beautiful cycling work here, or gradient cycling, for lack of a better term. And even the coffee kind of flashing. So interesting work here from Sabato, from, it seems like the chrome style, the black and white style. Chaz with another just super cool kind of retro pixel art work here. Here's some joysticks. I remember we had joystick like that. And a retro computer here with what looks, some coins, old video game and everything. Interesting use of that little cross there on this soda. It looks like maybe a Sprite or something. Beautiful book here with the colors in there too, the colored paper and everything. So just a really, really cool work by Chaz. I think it sold out right away. I missed it. Lightspeed Dash 750, and yeah, that's on secondary. Sold out for 3 Tezos only. There's Tornado, Lagojo. Big shout out to both Mikey Wilson, Louis. I mean, all in the family here. All in the family. So just a super cool work. Figments. The World of the Machines. Awesome title, by the way. The World of the Machines moves in ones and zeros. Cap'n. I love it. Figments. This new series. And again, we were remarking in the Twitter spaces a little over a week ago when we had Cap'n on, this interesting aspect that the pixels are not square using this software. And it really gives the work its own kind of very retro feel, and Cap'n just kind of running away with it and doing all sorts of really cool things. Again, this feels like Ultima 4 here. This also feels like Ultima 4. Look at this beautiful computer. And again, red, green, blue. So just very, very, very cool work here from Figments. And look at this great description. 1450 on secondary, pretty reasonable. Silva Santus with a couple of works here, and I have to speed up the pace here. Only 0.33 cents for this Nintendo ROM, glitch ROM here, so nice piece here. Peacemaker, another really cool one, also by Silva Santus. Again, playing with different planes here. Like different, moving things up and down seemingly in the abstraction, just beautiful. One Tezos, edition of 33, and of course Zoxo with another cool work here. This came out today, or I guess yesterday, edition of 3. I guess it's an open edition, and again, we see the video games to create artworks, using elements from video games to create artworks. Fascinating. 3 Zoxo Fun and Tezos 96. Lorna Mills with a super beautiful nature work here. What is this called? Lovefool. Look at how cool this is. This lightning strike, and it's just beautiful. And you gotta love the pink. Just really, really cool work here as usual. I love the nature work so much. 46.50 already on secondary, so this sold out at 15 Tezos each. There's Sabato. Really nice work. Françoise Gamma, edition of 15. So this looks like a new one. This is not from the 2009 series, so a new variation here on the walking figure from Françoise Gamma. And let's just continue here. Stip and Pixel, Street Moment number 45. Another cool, like what I'd call experimental pixel artist. A kid going down a slide, and you gotta love, my favorite parts are here. How it just kind of drifts off and it just kind of feels almost unfinished. And this, I love the sky too. This kind of just, it's beautiful, beautiful work. Goes really well with Element Lee. Again, you could definitely show them together. Just beautiful piece here from, the artist Ed Marola. You gotta love the kind of monochromatic figure here. Very cool. The color really makes it. Hello. Yeah, just beautiful here. And another one by Ed Marola, Mermaid. 7 Tezos, edition of 16. And again, lots of experimentation going on in the background. One wonders if this is underground. Kind of looks that way. Or under the water. And just really, really cool work here. Interesting hair. Ed Marola just having fun here, as usual. Tradscape, who makes the music, the opening and the closing music on this show, Theodore. Just an interesting one of one. You wonder if it's a commission of sorts transferred to NSF World here of what looks like a rat. So interesting work from Tradscape. Continuing on, LB. Naked Munch, Loop 04. So maybe a reference to Naked Lunch. Not sure if that is like a mugwump or something in the background there. Kind of almost abstract. Hard to see what's going on, but it looks pretty cool. Edition of 6 for 6 Tezos, 5 left. Aitzo with a couple more cell phones. Again, one of ones for 25 Tezos. So just great pieces here. There are a few. So here is the first G450. Here is the second Z1010. See if we can get it playing here. Just beautifully analog and super warm. All the warmth of analog. Gotta love this sort of stuff here. Even this drag over here, this feedback or delay, whatever you want to call it. And one more here, S740. This almost seems like a Motorola or something. So very cool. It feels like not that, almost like a Razor, but like an earlier version of it. Cool work here, as usual, from Aitzo. And Ex-Mortal with some really just kind of soothing analog video glitch works here. Abstract, I would say. Glassheart 11, and here's another beautiful one, Glassheart 12. I think they're 75 Tezos each. So just beautiful to wash over your eyes, your eyelids here, your pupils. Again, using analog gear. 75 Tezos each. This was interesting from Maddow. 10 Tezos, edition of 10. unusual work here. And let me just bring it up. And here it is, kind of a bit of a war theme, but this almost looks like a monster truck. So maybe it's hard to say what's going on here. So hard to say if this is a commentary on war or on monster trucks, but it seems to be of some kind. So just really nicely textured analog video glitch work from Mattel. So pretty cool. And here's a very cool work by House of the Model with a great track. Let me just play it here for you. Pray that my mic doesn't die. The music's actually, as usual, really great. I don't know if you can hear the bass there. Trying to turn my mic slowly. I want to hear the single. I want to hear the whole thing. It's only 50 seconds. So House of the Model is going to do our party in the sky, on the pirate ship in the sky. House of the Model is the official DJ. So beautiful work here. Maybe we got a live set. That would be beautiful. So just really cool. 5 Tezos, edition of 10. So I gingerly move this microphone. Native Ed with the cool work. 33 Tezos on, I assume, secondary. It is on secondary already, so sold out. Let's just, I think 17 on primary. Interesting work. Sync 3D. So again, GM, so referencing the crypto scene a little bit and this interesting kind of skull over top, and playing again with these kind of figures, these 3D figures that Native Ed has been working with. So interesting work here. Just very interesting and kind of very techno. Sync 3D, cool work. Mika Oladev, glitch artist, the Artificer's Artifact. This is, I believe, it's an edition of 15 for 30 Tezos. So maybe the prices are going up. We'll see if that's primary or secondary. Interesting glitch artist. This is with Explainer. So this is on secondary. So sold out at 9 Tezos on primary. There's Artie Hands, L.A. Trader, Dernadler. A lot of familiar faces here. And another awesome work by Bos Gracias. 5 Tezos, edition of 3. I might have to pick one of these up. I adore this series. That mixes, old Polaroid looking photos with Renaissance artworks in this beautiful monochromatic way with these gorgeous negatives. I just love this whole series and really nicely done and everything. With this overlapping here. And then here, the Leonardo Annunciation piece. This is in the Uffizi, this painting here in Florence. Annunciation details. Bos Gracias, edition of 5. And 2 are left. And finally, Strange Thing. I just had to give you an update on Strange Thing. You never want to stray too far away from what he's up to here. Medici collection inspired by Renaissance architecture. So continuing his thing. And 967 likes 4 hours ago. So Strange Thing continues to dazzle on the social media front. Like Popple, the growth has slowed a little bit, but still gaining like thousands of followers since we last checked in. So still huge growth. So super interesting. This is an interesting artist, Bay Anastasia. So that just showed up in my feed here. Just an interesting artist. As you can see, just so more physical work out of the contemporary art world here. And really nice, interesting painter. And here's another one from Nugget Brain. I feel like maybe we've looked at this one before, but I love it so much I would show it again. Nugget Brain is awesome. This time out of Albert Contemporary, Final Lap 2023, oil on canvas. So just an awesome work. And that is your show, my friends. Thank you for joining me. And until next time, take care.